but why do we always kind of resort back? So all I'm going to do is peel a little bit of onions back, or the layers back of the onion, see what can come forth, and maybe get you guys just a little more self-aware. And you guys can find the answers because we have the capabilities of doing it. It's crazy. I never was like that. I never knew. But are we ready to go? Should we roll? I mean, I don't mind whenever, man. I always start with 35 burpees, so here you start. Well, what's an extra 35? Let's hit it. What's going on? Do you want to say anything first? I don't want to step on some shit, man.
Thanks for coming. Yeah, like I told Deb already. I guess I will share. Like I've known Brandon and known about him and followed a lot of the stuff that he's doing. We both used to do like mixed martial arts stuff back in the day. And he runs the gym down in Joliet. I'll let him kind of tell his story. It's pretty cool. But what intrigued me about what he's doing is I've always known of the benefits of fasting, and again, for me, it's more of a mindset and clarity and kind of what he's going to talk about in the first half. I don't really, obviously you guys see me, I'm not trying to lose weight here, and that's what's deterred me away from fasting in the past, is like, I don't want to get skinnier, but so for this, it was like I've got to a stage where I've kind of let go of any sort of body image, body composition, and I just wanted to do more of like a spiritual journey almost, to kind of dive in and like just to explore the mental piece of it, the health, the physical, all that, and just kind of like use my body as a human guinea pig, as I've done so many times over the course of owning the gym. Like that's what I do. I test stuff. If I like it, I bring it to you guys. So me and Jay Bird kind of went in, we tested it. I reached out to Brandon. We did a 48. It was freaking awesome. I didn't lose any weight. I had a great time. I felt like I got a lot out of it. Followed up about the Uncommon 35. And there's just a lot of the stuff we've done, like Rosal was in there, we've done our Back to the Basics challenge. It was one of our best challenge groups we ever ran here. And it focuses on the habits and the lifestyle. And we allowed people to sort of get that identity shift and the belief changes and like becoming this healthier version of yourself. And so when we talked, he reached out about, and I'm like, Uncommon 35, I think I want to do it all. I just was asking him questions about fasting, and it just organically came to like, I want to do that at the gym, right? He already has sort of a framework. So that's what we're going to go into. Even if you don't fast, I think you can still reap the benefits of it, right? And that's what, so a lot of it is the mindset stuff, and it's just, it's always been a big part of what I do and what I'm super into, but I'm trying to bring it more to the forefront because I just feel like it's really the most important piece. As I've gotten older, I'm like, this is what matters. If you get that part right, the physical is going to fall into place. If you do the physical perfectly, but this isn't figured out, you're just going to revert back to your old ways. So we've got to sort of work here and let that stuff just go like organically kind of change as we mentally change. That's my spiel. So.
You did great, man. We'll be sharing the stage soon, as we are right now. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for showing up. My name's Brandon Kelly. I'm a strength and conditioning specialist by trade. That's what I do. Since I've really honed into my skill or my trade, it's brought a lot of opportunities because I've been going 100% on that road, down that road, and with that opportunities, I came forth with abundance, and it's just not generational wealth. And we'll talk about the abundance that we can kind of strive for, but just like Craig said, is he never wanted to get into it because he didn't want to lose weight. He did a 48-hour fast, didn't eat anything for 48 hours, and didn't lose a pound, right, for those 48 hours, okay? So it's not necessarily about what you eat, it's about what you get out. When you talk about fasting, it's about those toxins getting out of you. The more we can get rid of toxins in our body, the more clear we can think. And that's my job today, is try to put you at some sort of optimal position for your brain, at least have some sort of mental clarity. Okay, the mental capacity is a lot harder than the physical capacity. You could come in here, you could sweat your ass off for 1 hour a day, but then there's 23 other hours in your life. And we'll start off by, there's two different senses I have on the board, and it says circumstances. So I usually start off my presentations or my workshops, and I say, the majority of my life, I fell victim to my circumstances. And it's true. And I think we can all relate to that. Other than, I want you to focus on that word victim. Okay, that perception of the word victim, right? The majority of my life, I fell victim of my own circumstances. So victim, when you talk about like a victim, it's only about me. It's not about serving others or anybody else. It's only about me. Not saying poor me, but it's just about me. Now, if we reframe that, it says, my perception of the world, how I view the world, how the world views me, creates my circumstances. You see the difference between the victim and creates? So I could create my own circumstances just with my thoughts, how I perceive different things, whether it's challenges, whether it's love, however you want to reframe it. It's one of the most important parts of creating a habit. It's one of the most difficult parts as well, because it's easy to fall victim. The victim. I'm not going to say it's always about poor me, but man, I work 16 hours a day. I got 3 kids. You see how my voice inflection is like that? And we hear that. I hear it a lot. So what do you think your life is transforming into, right? As opposed to, well, I can create. As we age, that's what we do. We age, we create more responsibilities for ourselves. That's a no-brainer. And let me tell you something. A lot of this shit that I'm talking about, you already know. You're going to walk away here, you're going to be like, man, I knew that. It's all reference. I'm not any more special than any one of you guys. Right? We're all in this together. My job is to contribute beyond myself. So as we age, responsibilities increase. We know that. So life, it's like a blink of an eye. I mean, it was, what's today? Saturday? It was Saturday a week ago in a blink of an eye. It comes and goes fast, right? With responsibilities come emotions, and we have to talk about emotions. Now, emotions aren't a bad thing. Sometimes when I talk about emotions, like to my daughter, she'll be like, quit saying that. You have emotions too. I'm like, I do. I definitely have emotions. We have evolved for 450 million years because of our emotions. It tells us if we're happy, if we're sad, if we're angry. It gets us into trouble though, right? Temporary satisfaction. Sometimes that comes out of our emotions. That's what gets us in trouble. Did our temporary satisfaction by acting out get us closer or further away from our end goal? Now, with this emotions, like if you're a parent, such like I am, you deal with your kids' emotions. If you're a team lead, you deal with your employees' emotions. If you're a friend, you deal with your friends' emotions. And that's what we're meant to do. We're social creatures. The problem happens is that our self-perception starts to decrease. Our perceived self-perception, because all these emotions are distractions from our main goal, if we even have an end goal. Right? Because we all start off with some sort of goal, and as life starts to unravel, what happens? Our goal, maybe we don't even have the end goal in our forefront. Maybe we don't even have a goal. There's a surf quote we use all the time. You can't manage the waves, but you can learn how to surf. You ever heard that before? I didn't make that shit up. All right? So you can't control the waves, but you can learn to surf. We've all surfed. Look where we're at right now. We're in a good gym ran by very nice and professional people. Right? So we've managed ourselves up to this very point of our lives. But there's a big difference between surviving, which is managing, and thriving. And I'm not saying we haven't got outside of our bubble. I'm not saying that at all. We've all thrived in the last 15 years, some way and somehow, whether it's losing 10 pounds, whether it's just coming in these doors, whether it's managing your own family, that's thriving for the most part. But we have to talk about something called efficiency. That's what the Uncommon 35 starts to dial in. Is your relationship with time our most precious resource that we have? And I'm not the guy to bring bad news, but once it's gone, it's gone. If you've ever seen somebody that you love die, or your friends, family, it'll hit you. Once it's gone, time, it is gone. So your efficiency through life is your relationship with how you value time. We have it up here. Time versus productivity. How much time you put into something versus your productivity, that equals your efficiency. So we have to start thinking about that. That's my job today. Not only to teach you guys about fasting, the ins and outs of it, all right? But it's about how to create a little more efficiency within your own life. The Uncommon 35 is about clarity. One of the hardest things for me to do as being a coach for 2 decades is to get clarity out of my clients. Well, what are you looking for? Well, what are you actually looking for? Sometimes it takes a week, sometimes it takes 2 weeks, sometimes it takes months to figure out what you are exactly looking for. Because people can say what they want, but unless they're prepared to go into that, I'm not going to say battle, but I just said battle because it is going to be a fight. Anything worthwhile is going to be tough. So it's your preparation. It's not about your talk, because people can say, I want to lose 20 pounds. This isn't about weight. People can say they want to get better in life. They want to increase their sales by 20%. They want X amount of return. But unless you are prepared, it's never going to happen. Talk is cheap. And like I take this stuff serious, but it's not that serious. Sometimes I get on a roll. I know you guys don't know me that good. But sometimes we have to put our best foot forward. And we have to really be prepared and strategize for what's coming. The Uncommon 35 that you guys are going to indulge upon is a 35-day journey. It will turn into an adventure. And I say this because right here it says, my mind is playing tricks on me. You ever heard that song? That's usually what they cue when I talk about this. Dun, 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 dun. You know what I'm talking about? Right? Yeah, this year Halloween fell on a weekend. So my mind is playing tricks on me. That's why it becomes an adventure. Because you ever go to bed, like, I'm going to crush tomorrow. I am going to get up at 5. I'm going to journal at 5:30. I'm going to ice bath at 6. Right? And then you get up and you're like, snooze. Right? What happens, right? From the time being before bed, you're going to crush the world. You wake up, it's just you're back to surfing. The thing is I put this up here, how to control the waves. It is an Uncommon 35 workshop that I'm doing within a small amount of window, 40 minutes. All right? But that's what I'm talking about, how to control the waves. And the waves aren't the waves that's coming in and out that the moon predicts. It's the waves, the frequency waves. That's what I'm talking about. Because we've been surfing up to this point. We surf our emotions. We manage, it's not a bad thing. Surfing's fun. I used to live in San Diego 5 years. My daughter was born in San Diego. Surfing is awesome. But it's hard, especially as a newbie. You mess up all the time, then you got to go back out and fight the rip curls and the tides and all the breaks, right? Just to get out there to fail again. And surfing continuously is not efficient. That's what I'm talking about. It's not efficient. You can manage, but you're not respecting your time. So what we want to do is we want to take this journey knowing it's going to be an adventure. Knowing that the mind is going to play tricks on you. Knowing that there's 3 parts of the brain. We're going to go over it. Each part of this brain, each part of the brain does something valuable for us. Okay, but by itself, not so much. One overrides the other and then contradicts the other. But if we use them together, it's harmony. That's what I'm looking to do through this Uncommon 35. So it's a journey, turns into an adventure because we know our brain's going to play tricks and say, it's cool, just skip a day. It's cool, just skip this. But we have to do this because of a detachment. There's power behind pulling back. It's not just about pulling back on food. You are going to be exposed, though. how many times you want to go to that kitchen cabinet. You are going to be exposed how many times you want to open up that refrigerator door. And once you're exposed, there's no unexposing you. So for you being here right now, you are going to learn some information that's not going to be able to take away. Nobody's going to take that away from you. So you're going to know. Along this adventure, intuition is going to spike. Awareness is going to spike. You're going to see things that you haven't seen before. I'm not talking about like taking mushrooms or LSD. But did you see some shit on that 48-hour fast? No, not yet. It's 72, you start seeing stuff. All right. Intuition. Do you know where intuition comes from? Anybody? You ever heard of like your gut intuition? Like you have a gut feeling? You heard of that, right? Brings us to the next point, gut check. All right, when you fast, you spark neuron transmitters. Neuron transmitters you think come from the brain. That's false. Neuron transmitters, neurologically, right? You think they come from the gut. So when you give your gut a little bit of a breathing room, you start spiking a lot of transmitters for those neurons. They go from the gut to the brain to the muscle to the heart. And the faster the signal, the more aware we are. The better we can perform without calories necessarily. All right? Now, here's my gut check. In 2017, I was having a pinnacle year in my business. Financially, I was on top of the world. I was not only my gym, but I was traveling around this great nation of ours, and I was coaching different gym owners on how to program and also have like standard operating procedures. And I was traveling around, was doing good things financially, I was on top of the world. With that came stress, an abundance of stress, sleepless nights, and a grind. You ever heard of the grind? I know people like to say they grind, but I don't like that phrase anymore, not for myself, because it grinded me down into nothing. Okay, and I didn't know it. I was about 20 pounds heavier, but I had the same amount of body fat. I was eating about 5,000 to 7,000 calories a day, coming out of a collegiate wrestling, just like Craig. Tried out the MMA world, prize fighting. I needed calories. That's what I was brought up on. That's what I knew. That's the bro science. I need to eat. I need to be big. I need to be durable. Well, I ended up in the hospital. I woke up. I was in the hospital. I completely blacked out. Do not know what happened from the time I got out of the car. I told my fiance and my daughter, I do not feel good. I was messed up. I got a virus that they didn't know that it was a virus. They didn't know what it was. They thought I had meningitis, actually. So I woke up, there's tubes, there's wires hanging out of me. I was scared, man. That scared me. And I fought some of the biggest, baddest dudes. I've had some shit happen to me in my past. And that scared me the most. Now, they didn't know what I had. They thought I had meningitis, so they flipped me over. They gave me a spinal tap, which led to spinal leakage. If it could have went wrong, it went wrong. It's nobody's fault but my own. I'm not blaming anybody. That's my perception. I put myself in that circumstance. Okay? Stress, sleepless nights, eating like a madman just to be durable. I was a retired athlete. All right? I thought I was doomed. I got out of the hospital, man, I couldn't get my funk back. My mojo was like gone. Probably like how people have felt on the COVID, where they had that like brain fog. But this was 2017. I was traveling. I caught some shit that we don't need to go down that road. But I caught some shit and I couldn't get my funk back. I reached out to my good friend Kyle. He's been fasting probably about 8-10 months at that time. And he was seeing some really cool benefits. He started implementing it in his gym in New Jersey. He's like, hey brother, do a 48-hour fast. I said, what? Nah, man, like, remember, I was eating 7,000 calories a day. I thought food was my savior. At that time, I did not think my food took me to the hospital. What are you talking about, man? It's like, do a 48-hour fast. You're trying to kill me, brother. It's like, do a 48-hour fast. I did a 48-hour fast. I never looked back. Within that 48-hour fast, I saw things I never saw before. The lens, the view of my perception changed. Things that were right in front of me for 12 years started sticking out. It's weird, right? So now we're going to get into like why, right? But as I did this 40-hour fast, I was like, man, this is crazy. What else can I do? It can't just be about fasting. What else is there? The lens changed, awareness heightened, answers started to present themselves. I wasn't even asking questions, and it was almost like it's like a sign from God. I felt. I wasn't really spiritual at the time, and all of a sudden it was like, man, what's going on? I had heightened intuition. All of a sudden I was thinking, I was like taking time for myself. Okay, reverse engineer how this happened. I'm starting to see some signs. I remember when I was 14 years old, a Latin king put a snub-nosed pistol to my sternum. He was checking me. That's what happened back in the day. Instead of like changing who I was hanging out with, I changed my physical psychology. I did everything I could to not let that happen again. And I thought it was because I was getting picked on. It's not like I changed the people. Why do that? I was a kid. So I started programming myself to get physically strong, to get bigger, better, whatever I needed to do for that never to happen again. There's more to that story. It wasn't like I was just like walking down, like I was a victim to my circumstance. No, my perception of the world created that. That was my perception of the world 14, 15 years old. That's who I hung out with. So I started thinking, well, how can I, it was like my aha moment, reciprocate my physical state with my mental state? How could I do that? And then all of a sudden nutrition came, my health state. I started nerding out on like holistic supplementation, things like that to start heightening just who I am for my daughter. I have cancer on my father's side. He passed away at a young age. There's cancer on my mom's side. I saw death. So I have a daughter. I'm like, man, I do not want her to see this. I saw her face in the hospital. All right, cool. I'm down this fasting tip. So before we get into actual fasting, I got to continue talking about the brain, because if I just have you on a fasting protocol, I guarantee you, Christ's going to get you to lose 10, 15 pounds, no problem. You're going to be stronger than you ever were. You're going to have tighter skin. There's going to be a lot of really cool benefits. But because there's outside influence, because we're only here 1 hour a day, and a lot of people that you hang out with maybe don't like their job, don't know about perception, maybe don't like their family, not their family, but their significant other, you know how that is. They're in your ear, and then all of a sudden you go up and down with your own emotions. So we got to talk about mind mapping. Mind mapping is a science of habits. It's a true thing. There's a science of why we do things. Why our brain reacts or responds to certain things. Your thoughts predict your actions. This is so big. If you take a picture of one thing, this is the one thing, because I know you can provide for yourself because of this. Thoughts dictate your actions. Actions dictate your habits. Your habits will predict your future. Your habits, what you do consistently. The perception of stress matters in your life. It's always going to be apparent. Do you think that I walk through life right now with no stress? It's like, no, hell no, man. Everybody's got stress. Stress and pressure, right? Stress can pull you further away, or stress could be one of your most dominant weapons in your mental arsenal. It just depends on how you reframe it, okay? Because if you tell everybody about your stress, you're the victim. Maybe if you tell everybody how you overcome your stress, now the perception changes. Maybe the people in your life start to change, and you form this community or this culture around you where, hey, this is what I want, and this is what I don't want. Because remember I said clarity is the hardest thing to pull out of my clients? Maybe you don't know exactly what you want, but you sure as shit know what you don't want. Right? That's what you'll start picking off is like, hey, this goes in the category that I don't want. Getting me closer to what I want. This shit works. It sounds like it's like hocus pocus gypsy shit, but this is real. This is about the brain now. Now we got to talk about the human part, the animal part, the reptilian part of the brain. This is real, right? Let's go through these three. The human part, we think lineal. We could adapt. We're the only species that can think lineal. We could actually strategize something, right? We put things into place. It's good for us. The animal part is comfort. Your home, your family, comforting. Reptilian part is all about survival. About 80% of our brain is based on survival. That's why it's super easy to not thrive, to stay at home. So now let's go over kind of the negative aspects or the concerns about these three parts. The human part, yes, it thinks lineal, right? We can strategize success. Hey, I just need to reverse engineer what I'm looking for. No problem. Here's the problem. You strategize too much. Anxiety. You think too much in the future, man, your anxiety goes way up. And anxiety creates, it's not like you just rush to go do it. It actually puts you in a paralyzed state of mind. The animal part, comfort. Yeah, but if you're always comfort, you're always the victim. Poor me, you want that hug. You want somebody to rub your shoulders. You want somebody to say, it's okay, take the day off. That's a problem or a concern if you're looking to do better. Okay? Now, the last one, reptilian part, man, that's the one we got to fight all the time. Yes, it's there to survive. It's the oldest part of our brain, 450 million years of evolution. That's the part of the brain that says, that's fire, don't touch it. Right? That's the part of the brain that you don't go out of the cave because you don't want to get eaten. So that's the part of 80% of your brain is reptilian. It's super easy to kind of conform into that part. I'm just going to be cool where I'm at right now because I don't want to step outside of my boundaries. My boundaries means I'm vulnerable. What Craig said up here is, I want to give you guys information. I'm learning about it. I want to learn about it, so I'm giving. He's being vulnerable. As a gym owner, that's vulnerability. That takes some balls. Being vulnerable, even if you know how it is. Whether you're a girl or a guy, it takes courage to be vulnerable. You're going everything against your reptilian part of the brain, the most dominant part of your brain. So you have to be aware of that because I told you there was a journey that was going to turn into an adventure. The adventure is these three guys. Man, these three parts of your brain are going to be messing with you, contradicting you all the time. So you got to be focused. You got to stay clear. That's why that supplement we have is called the dragon juice. It's based on the brain. It's got nothing to do with a big-ass dragon. Well, it is. Kind of the reptilian acts as the dragon. That's the dragon juice. All right, so here's where the sweet spot is. When you can put all three of these into harmony. Somehow, if you could be in the now. When I go into any of these workshops, definitely, do you think I'm just come in here and I just spit shit out? I mean, I used to stutter as a kid. There's a lot of things that deter me to do this. But I got to be in a flow state. And using all three of these things that I know about. I know my reptilian part of my brain wanted me to stay in that car. I know my animal part of my brain wants you guys all comfort me and feel sorry for me. And the human part of me wants us to let's just strategize how this is going to work. The sweet spot is in the now, is in the flow state, in the now, in the present moment. That's when your cortisol levels are at its least. And we got to fight cortisol because that's the stress hormone that you cannot predict. The more stressed out you are and you're going to go eat, that food is doing absolutely nothing for you. Cortisol levels are the ones that really spike these dragons. So the sweet spot is the now. The sweet spot is high conscious levels. There's a guy, and he wrote the book called Power vs. Force. His name is Dr. David Hawkins. He wrote 2 other books as well. He's now deceased. He was a kinesiologist, which is all the muscles, so he's really big into strength training. He turned into psych, and then physiology. So he had a lot of reps in between them, and he actually created a metric for vibrations, how to measure somebody's vibrations. Jesus Christ being at the highest, at Gandhi, all the way down, and he's got different measuring systems. And I put here your vibe attracts your tribe. So the higher your conscious level, meaning you're in the now, in the format of now, you're not thinking too much in the future, you're not thinking too much of your past because your past is dwelling on it. How are you going to be in the now if you're too much in the forward or in the past, right? So it's the present moment that's always going to be your sweet spot. So that is our job during this Uncommon 35, is to put our brain as much as possible in the now. And we do that and I said right here, your vibe attracts your tribe. Look around you. Your vibration levels are attracting your tribe right now. That's what's up, right? The higher you vibe, the more people that you're going to pull into your situation. I bet you guys are all really cool people that care about each other, right? It's not just about being the victim, contributing beyond ourselves. That's a huge part of this game. I know it's like, man, but I just want to know about fasting. I just want to know about nutrition. But if you don't get exposed to how your brain works and the habits, you will always revert back. Resort back to the what is comfortable. Resort back to the reptilian part of the brain and say, I am not going to go outside my bubble. I am not going to tell Craig I want to do this because if I fail, I am such a loser. And it's like, nah, man, failing is part of the gig. We learn that failing is the part that says you are doing something right, you are doing something wrong. That's the communication within ourselves. So here's the formula. There's got to be fundamentals. We can't just go straight to the front of the line. That's why all this stuff matters. The fundamentals are water and sleep. You better be getting in your 75 to 90 to 120 ounces of water a day, depending on your activity level. Why? First and foremost, it is going to regulate your body temperature. It needs that. The most important thing it does for your body is it protects your organs, your brain and your organs. The third thing, it lubricates your joints, and then it gets rid of toxins. There's a lot of evidence that water is extremely beneficial for you, or hydration. That's what the dragon juice is. It's a hydration formula. Now, what happens if you don't drink your water? You're considered dehydrated. All right, no big deal. Yeah, maybe you feel a little sluggish. Well, the water's all going to protect your brain and your organs. It has to, right? So yeah, your joints are going to feel a little achy. Maybe you're a little hotter than normal. But the worst thing is you're not getting any toxins out of your body. In the fasting world, it's not what you take in, it's what you get out. So we want to get as much toxins out of our body. That's inflammation. Whatever it might be, we need to get them out. So that's a fundamental right then and there. So part of the Uncommon 35 is drink your water. Every single day, mark it off, chip it off. 35 days of that. You got that? That ain't shit, right? Now we got sleep. And we need at least 7 hours of sleep. Let's do that. Let's get at least 7 hours of sleep. Some of us, hey, it's going to be a little wishy-washy. But Vince Lombardi said, fatigue makes a coward out of all of us. Fatigue makes a coward out of all of us. Remember that. That's a staple, because if we want to fight the reptilian part of that brain that tells us, hey, don't get out of that cave, man, how are you ever going to take that best foot forward? That stride outside of your comfort zone. You can't stride without getting out of your comfort zone. So you need that sleep. It's recharging the batteries. It makes sense. It's important. Now, every Tuesday to Wednesday, I get like 4, maybe 5 hours of sleep, and I don't trip on myself. It's not an excuse. I have to do that. I choose to do that, I should say. I work nights on Tuesday, and then I work very early on Wednesday morning. I choose to do that. I love that part of my week. It gets me going. It's like my Monday. So to be able to do that, you got to be in the primal state of mind. It is no excuse. In that Uncommon 35, it tells you it's no excuse. Be honoring to not step outside of your comfort zone, to not go to the gym. Now, if you do it every day, man, I don't know exactly what's going to happen to you, but what happened to me, I can say I ended up waking up in the hospital, and it scared me more than anything in life. All right? Now, the last one is going to be stress as the fundamental part of this. Stress is a mofo. All right? Cortisol levels raised, you are going to store fat. That's what it does. It stores fat. So a lot of times, people that eat, not picking on them, it's all good. I eat too, stressful. But you eat 5, 6 meals a day, little meals a day, you're on the run, you're on the go, you're eating. Chances are that those calories aren't doing anything for you except storing for fat. Because that's how the body works. The brain metabolizes it. I'm going to get into fasting in a second, okay, before I get into that. But let's stick with stress. 50,000 thoughts a day we have. on average. On average, somebody that doesn't read, write, and even speak on a daily basis. 50,000 thoughts a day. 75,000 to 100 if you do that. That's a lot of thoughts. Right? Your brain was never meant to be a lock and key lockbox. I'm going to remember everything. You ever drive and you're like, oh shit, I forgot to do that. Oh my, right? And then all of a sudden the distractions, right? So 50 to 70, I didn't believe it when I first got into mind mapping. And then I went out, I live in an area where there's a ton of trees, and I went out and raked about 35 big brown bags, recycle bags of leaves. And I just thought of like 300,000 thoughts. They contradicted, every single one of them contradicted themselves. I had good ideas, I had bad ideas. I was going to do this, I wasn't going to do this. You ever have that? You ever go from point A to point B driving and not even remember that you drove there? I didn't even remember pressing the gas or the brake or anything. So part of this is you have to know that and you articulate your thoughts. If you have 50,000 thoughts on average, we have to articulate them. It wasn't meant to be a lockbox. So what do? At the end of every night, you're just going to journal. I know it's a journal. It's all pre-formulated, prefabricated. All you got to do is fill it out. You set the timer for 2 minutes. If you set it with your phone, put do not disturb on. Because the second you get a text or an email, where do you think your focus is going to go? 2 minutes. Start off with 2 minutes. End up with 5. The human brain, as of right now, can only do 2 minutes of being focused on. And just write down anything and everything that's on your mind. There's no rules. There's no rules of what you can and cannot write down. Just write down things. It'll eventually become almost like a to-do list. Well, once you start pursuing curiosity through the Uncommon 35, you'll start pursuing what you are curious about. Whether it's your own health, whether it's to gain muscle, to lose weight, for your family members, what you can do for a birthday party, it doesn't matter. It's going to go on there. You're going to be pursuing a lot of curiosity in this challenge. No big deal. Write that shit down. All of a sudden you'll feel like, and it takes 2 minutes. But we got to detach from maybe the Netflix. We got to detach even just for 5 minutes to do that. We articulate our thoughts, and all of a sudden those articulation is going to be our blueprint. The articulation of the thoughts that are going in our mind start becoming the blueprint for whatever we're looking to pursue. The clarity aspect, maybe you don't have clarity yet. Maybe you don't know exactly what you're looking for, but through intuition and heightened awareness, it'll come to you. We don't want to just throw these thoughts out, because even though maybe 3% are valid, those 3% came to you for a reason. So we want to pursue those. From there on the Uncommon 35, there's a part that says questions. Now, you don't have to answer those questions. There's a part after you do your brain dump, you're going to just ask some good questions. What they are, that's up to you. What we're trying to do is have you be more self-reliant, more self-efficient for yourself. You are going to come up with these questions. You're going to find the answers. I have a bold statement in there, and it says, the quality of your questions will determine the quality of your life. It's crazy. But when you start asking really good questions, you get really good answers. So you're more efficient. You're more effective. You very much value your time. Self-awareness heightens. And the final thing that's part of that, I skipped a step because you haven't seen it yet, right? You haven't seen so nobody has this out in front of them, do they? Okay, so this is the journal, all right? So maybe I can do this. This is your brain dump. Write anything and everything. And people that aren't doing my challenge still keep buying these books from us. It's like a blueprint. Even if you fall off a couple days, not on your 35-day challenge, but all of a sudden it's like a blueprint. You get really good at articulating what's going on in your mind. Well, I'll tell you in that book what has happened from a lot of people that have done this. Here's your good questions. Don't even think about answering them right now. What happens is then you go to bed. This is before bed. Then you go to bed. Let your subconscious do the work. Subconscious. Remember I said conscious levels? If you want to heighten your conscious levels, you have to start letting your subconscious do the work. Just like building muscle, it's in the recovery. That's the sleep that I'm talking about. All of a sudden, you'll wake up. Maybe the answers aren't 100% crystal clear, but something's gonna be heightened. You then take this brain dump, you circle some things, and you put them right here. Now this becomes almost like your roadmap for the day. Whether you're writing down people's numbers, whether it's emails, whatever it might be, we're about being efficient. And the very last thing, the last thing that I have up there is gratitude. Now, if you're in a true grateful state of mind, that's in the now. Okay, you can't have anxious thoughts and grateful thoughts at the same time. It's near impossible. So what you want to do is get in the habit of being super grateful about something, anything, what it is. Your animal brain will love this. It's comfort. What is the most comforting thing? Is it your kids? Is it your house? Like for me, I mean, I love my daughter to death. When I think about her, I love my house. Something about my house to me is like my mecca. So I think about my house. I think about my family. It's a lot easier to go throughout the day. My stress levels go down. It's not that big of a deal. Everything's going to be all right. That's usually what happens within me. Anytime I get stressed out, I run multiple businesses. I have a lot of team members underneath me. I have to keep my stress levels low because as I'm aging, the last thing, it's not about money anymore. It's not about that right now. The money will come as long as I have enjoyment. If I can enjoy my life more than I freaking hate it, there was a time in my life where I woke up and I would actually say these words: I hate my life. I would actually say that. I hate my life. It became a habit. Why do you think my perception was? Why do you think I had a pistol pulled out? Right? There's a reason behind a lot of things. So when you go into the fasting, the part of this that a lot of people want, and I'll wrap this up here, is I'm asking you to do 16, 17 hours a day. And that's including your sleep. So if you're getting 7 hours of sleep, just add 8 or 9 hours on top of that. Reverse engineer your day. Okay, so for me, it's pretty simple. I mean, I do a 20-hour fast just about every day. If not, it's an 18-hour fast. So I just reverse engineer. There's a part of that journal that says, when am I going to wake up? Actually, when am I going to go to bed? When am I going to wake up? When am I going to work out? When is my first meal going to be? If you evolve your life around those 4 concepts, really good things happen. When it comes to your mental intuition, when you come to your mental awareness. Okay? Now, if you revolve these 4 around everything in your life, chances are you're probably not going to go to bed when you want to go to bed. Chances are you're not going to wake up when you said you're going to wake up. You're going to eat your first meal whenever you feel like it, in our feelings. And maybe I'll just skip today's workout because of all this is going on. No. Everything needs to fall into here. I'm sorry, but this is about you. That's what you are committing to with the Uncommon 35. It's a 35-day journey that's going to turn into an adventure because, yes, you have a real life that goes on outside of all these things. But if you can't come in here, you think you can't bang out 20 burpees? If you can't come in here, you don't think you can predict or tell yourself when you're going to go to bed, when you're going to wake up, when your first meal is going to be. This takes a minute to think for yourselves. That's what's crazy and what's cool about this. Nobody's telling you what to do but yourself. So I'm asking you to do 16 to 18 hours. Okay? You kind of format that. When you eat food, your body metabolizes that sugar. That's just how it works. And it stores the rest of it as fat. The more you eat, the more it metabolizes sugar and stores it for fat. It stores it for fat because it hasn't evolved thinking that there's not a grocery store or a Wendy's or McDonald's or a Walgreens on every corner. The fat reserve is there strategically for survival. If we didn't go out of our cave or we didn't hunt or capture what we hunt, we didn't go back to the cave and die. We actually came out more rejuvenated, more aware. Our central nervous system spiked like a bastard. We heard better. We saw better. We smelled better. Then we went out. So we have to know that. The more you eat, the more it's going to metabolize the sugar, the more you're going to store fat. So by switching it over, pull all that glucose out of your body, that sugar. Your body's going to run off that sugar. And at a certain point, you're going to say, I can do more. About the 18-hour mark, 20-hour mark, depending on who you are and how much food you've been eating, it takes for your body to switch over. from glucose to fat. That's that sweet spot. When the body turns over to fat for fuel, that's when everything heightens. Now we're burning fat for our fuel because there's toxins in the fat. So we're very hyper-focused. The brain loves fat, just like the brain loves sodium, good sodium, dragon juice, calcium, magnesium, potassium. That's what it needs without the caloric consumption. So you go along those days and you start transitioning from glucose to fat. All of a sudden, you'll have adrenaline that go through your veins. The adrenaline spikes things. It's heightened your awareness. It also now aids in what's called cellular rejuvenation. When you don't eat for a certain amount of time, your digestive enzymes can do more than just digest. They aid in cellular rejuvenation. And with cellular rejuvenation, not only does everything heighten, but your immunity. That's where we're getting after. A lot of the talks that I'll do when it's just fasting, health is paramount first and foremost. It's not about losing fat. It's not about gaining energy. None of that stuff. That's a byproduct. Health first and foremost. So if you want to increase your immune system, what it's going to do is it's going to rejuvenate these blood cells. The more blood cells rejuvenated, the better are immune to fight off any disease or anything, any infection, things of that sort. That's why healing is such a big part of intermittent fasting. It's dated back all the way to the biblical times. So this Uncommon 35 is more about you. Will you lose some body fat if you want to lose body fat? For sure. It's more about advancement though. How can I personally advance down a path and just, pull everything together for myself first and foremost? I asked you to take a picture of this because I'm committing to help Craig do this challenge with you guys for the next 5 weeks. I will help him out in any ways if you guys have questions. It wasn't just about fasting. But I do believe if Craig and I get on like a Zoom call and we record it and we send it out to you just on fasting, it'll just be that much more reassurance that you got this. When I take on a client, the biggest thing, the most profitable thing that I have to do for him or her is teach them about how good it is for you to fast. Once they realize that it's good for you, that you can skip meals, that you're not going to wither away to nothing, and you're going to feel the lack of energy, that's all your mind. That's because habitually for the last how many years, for me, I'm 43 years old. Since I was a kid, I was habitually eating 3, 4, 5 times a day. That's just how we do it. So then you pull back on food and we just think that I'm going to decrease in energy. That's the exact opposite. You should increase in energy. I don't know the last time that I ate prior to a workout. And I've been fasting since 2017. So I'm committed to you guys. I love that you guys invited me out. I appreciate your time. I value your time very much. And I think this is going to be a really good journey if you choose to do the journey. I will, if you have any questions on the dragon juice, if you have anything like that, let me know. I'll answer any of your questions. And I'll stick around. I'll be here to stick around and answer any questions if you want. Cool? Thank you guys. Appreciate it. That's for all you guys. Thank you for your time. I started getting sweat go down my back, so I needed to. Oh my God. Oh, you need a dragon juice, brother.
We're not sure if anybody hasn't seen, like, it's $60 for the book. This is the journal, then there's a book, and then you get a tub of the juice, which Brandon brought a bunch of them. That's only $60.
Yeah, and it's online. It's $60 just for a tub. It's 60 servings.
Hey, Brandon, can I answer just a couple quick questions? So first is with the 16 hours, right? So let's say I go, I write it down that I work out at 8 in the morning.
Yep.
Right? So is there like, can I have like half of an apple?
No.
Not, okay. And again, that's what I'm saying, because you get some of that, so I don't know how that's defined.
Yeah, try to be as black and white as possible.
Okay.
a lot of people, it's not a misconception, there's bro science out there, and it's true that you need to have some sort of like protein right after you work out. You ever heard of that? Well, that's because your insulin sensitivity is spiked. And that's what you want when you eat or drink a protein shake. It goes to the right parts. Here's what we need to know is that window never closes. It actually just heightens. So the further you go with fasting, the more the window heightens, insulin sensitivity. So when you do choose to eat your apple, it's going to go right to the tissues itself. When you do choose to have your protein shake or your meal, there's going to be little to no waste.
Okay. So, and then, second of all, I'm assuming that this can also be a lifestyle.
Well, yeah. Hopefully it transitions into
like a challenge.
Yeah, exactly. I think the lifestyle comes. Do you have to fast every day? Not everybody does it, And I'm always going to fast, but my windows change depending on my schedule, whether it's an 18 or a 24. Seasonally, I'll do a 72. So every season, there's a 72-hour fast that I put in because it's my reset. If I go, like, just say I go and there's a birthday party and I indulge in a couple too many drinks, I'm definitely doing like a 48-hour fast. I'm cleaning. It's the fastest, most efficient way to have a clean slate. You're balancing your body. The pH goes. It's like this. It's a clean slate for you to work off of.
And then this last one. Thank you for looking.
Yeah, no, I'm here. I have no rush.
When does the clock start ticking on your fast? Is it like at midnight? Is it when you go to sleep?
It's when you stop eating. So
stop eating the previous evening.
Yeah, whenever you stop eating, just remember when you do eat, your body metabolizes through what's called the insulin hormone. Insulin hormone is the only hormone that we have control over. So that's the hormone that converts that food to glucose for sugar. It's super simple. Sometimes I make it boring, but that sugar is your energy. The problem is you don't need all that energy, so the body stores the fat. So not the second, but like if you get done eating at 10 p.m., or you starting at 10 p.m., just start the clock right there. Just start the clock right there. You'll probably be eating around 7. Most of you guys eat 5, 6, 7 p.m. Most people that I coach. So, you'll go, let's just say it's at 6 o'clock, you'll go throughout the night that you sleep. Hopefully you sleep around 7 hours. And you're probably not going to eat your first meal until 1, maybe 2 p.m., depending on when you stop eating.
And then you have that 8 hours.
Yeah, so then you have an 8-hour window. That's a really good question. Then you have an 8-hour window, and I'm asking you to only eat 2 meals within that 8-hour window.
Okay. And those are kind of the specificity.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, not like, again, like with the bro science or the intermittent fasting all out there, it's 2 meals, and then how would you construct it?
So I always break my fast with fruit. Fruit is, for me, it's really good sugars, and it's also all the micronutrients you need. That's kind of what the dragon juice is. If you guys are still here, I'd love to talk to you about it right now. I studied a lot of Native Americans, okay, just because they were one of the cultures that really exemplified fasting. They didn't always eat. They used the water was sacred to them. The water was sacred to them because of the minerals. They knew the minerals is what allowed you, the micronutrients is minerals. That's what allows you to perform at high levels without the caloric consumption that you need. When they did eat, they partied. Right? They were very grateful for what was provided for them. So micronutrients, that's what gets pulled from macronutrients. And macronutrients is your proteins, your fats, and your carbohydrates. The concern is that when you eat, it takes a lot of energy to digest that food into macronutrients. And when it does digest, it pulls the micronutrients first and foremost out of it. So the dragon juice and fruit, it goes straight to the front of the line. You're pulling the micronutrients out first. The concern is fruits like your apple will break a fast because of sugar. So now your body's going to transition over to glucose for that sugar as energy. So
it's completely, if I'm just kind of re-summarizing,
yeah,
completely bro science, the fact of like you're technically still fasted if you're having less than 50 calories. If you have tea.
No, tea, coffee, dragon juice, things with like, yeah, you can do that. Half in an apple, it's sugar. There's difference between a calories that are coming with the little calories that come from a black coffee or green tea without any sugar in it compared to an actual like half an apple that has sugar in it. You see where that is? Sugar is going to spike your insulin. We want to just pull back from all food. Anything with sugar in it, like orange juice or any sugary drinks, out the door. Water, black coffee, tea. If you can find an electrolyte, like the dragon juice, do that. I went years making my own electrolytes. It didn't taste that good, but I did it. I did it out of my own cabinet. I would order the sodium, the potassium, the baking soda, all that good stuff. And a lot of people, it's not the best for everybody. You make you go to the bathroom and you don't want that all the time. Like number 2, not number, you know what I mean? Like that's not the best. So this is the fasting formula is a regulated electrolyte with good sodium, 2 different sodiums, the magnesium, potassium, the minerals needed. That's what our water used to consist of. We used to have water that was full of minerals because it would run through the sediments, the rocks, the clay, the mud. That's what it got. Now it doesn't have that. Now you might get a couple waters that say, induce like minerals and things. But that's what we want. We want micronutrients. So I'll break my fast with fruit. That's the first thing that I break it with. It's really easy on the gut. And then I go in and I'm a rice, I'm a meat, I'm a vegetable, fruit type of guy. So my diet consists of almost the same thing every night, just changing the protein. And if it's not rice, it's sweet potatoes. But I just like it. For me, it makes sense. It tastes good, and I perform at high levels because of that. And it's not just in the weight room. I perform in my relationships with, my family, my employees, all along the line. That's my metric system, is how I'm performing. Am I communicating well? Am I hearing well? Am I being able to regurgitate and listen? That's kind of where I'm at right now with it. Thank you. But I'll continue to answer any of these questions within that 5-week journey of yours.
Okay.
With Craig.
Well, yeah.
Maybe we can start like a Facebook group or something. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
Maybe we can do that where it's like a little more private. That way people can ask the questions and we can just walk you through it. Yeah, something like that. Cool. Yeah.
Even if you guys do the Facebook groups and the challenge, because challenges are huge, and then like private Zooms. Me personally, sitting here, I was thinking, okay, at least 497 hours, at least 497, because the presentation alone of fasting, some things only go through fasting, prayer and fasting. And so when you say that you start seeing things, that's how I'm here now, because I went through a fasting. I lost my mom 1/11 of 2019, and I was functioning severely depressed, stressed, and delusional, but just getting through. And it wasn't until I did a fast that I started seeing myself differently, and I started seeing life different. And I'm looking like, oh my God, I've been a mother, a daughter, a wife, and I forgot about me. And I'm like, I'm getting ready to take some time for Vera and start. When I say seeing things differently, the person that I thought I was, I happened to walk past the mirror one day and was like, wait a minute, who is that? And it was me. And then I get a text message on something that I did a while, because I saw this on Facebook, and I kind of did this a while ago. Then the text message come in and say, hey, whatever it said, I'm like, am I being punked? And I'm here. And again, it's about me, finally, because we talk about the now. If you don't take care of you now, when would you do it? And when you're looking for your biggest prize and your biggest gift, it's actually really in the present. And it may sound like a cliche, but it's just real life. And so now, like, as far as I'm concerned, all of you guys have manifested yourself here for me, because I can selfishly say that.
Absolutely.
Because it's all about me.
That's your perception. Yeah, and I do think, you know, we talked about the price, and he said it, he said, I just want to get these guys involved. My next one will be a high rent ticket. Usually they are, and he's giving it to for almost a cost. So it's a great deal. I'd love to do something with you, like if you want to do that group and whatever you want. I'll provide. I'll help as much as I can.
But the law of reciprocity
Absolutely.
is even bigger than because when I see it, I'm like, wow, this is so much bigger because you're literally changing lives, and some stuff you do, you give it freely, but it comes back to you in ways that you could not even have
For sure.
imagined.
He's building a stronger culture just by doing this.
Wow.
It's exactly. I appreciate that. That's great. I do appreciate each and every one of you guys showing up there.
Have you played around with, going back to the food part, have you played around with eating like more carbs or less carbs in your feasting window? Or do you always go high carb because of the activity you do versus?
It's for me. It's more just for taste.
Okay.
It's
You
what I
let your
like.
intuition guide even how your food choices.
Yeah. A lot of it is if I'm not hungry, I'm not smashing. Like I don't force myself to eat. I used to do that as an athlete. I thought that's what you were supposed to do.
Right.
And if I'm not hungry, I'm eating, like right now, mangoes are in season, grapes, you know, that's very fruitful right now. And it, yeah, for real, for real, you're right. So, yeah, no, I don't count. If I'm hungry, I eat, you know. A lot of times I'll eat my steak first after my grapes, and if I'm still hungry, I'll have my sweet potatoes and rice after. But I never really got into the macro counting of anything, you know. For me, it's more health, and my body has just been a byproduct of it, you know.
So if we've been in, Craig, this might be a question too, if we've been in, I've been doing the nutrition with you, right? Macros, I got a set number of calories, I'm trying to hit my protein, carbs, fat every day. These 35 days, should I just do more intuitive eating?
I think that's a question for you. You know, that's what's cool about the fasting aspect is you start really coming up with your own, you start responding and reacting to your own ways. If your body's responding good to what you're eating as you're counting, what would you say to that, Shay? Because she's messed with, this is Shay. Shay's my fiance.
Hi. Hello. I would say don't get tripped up if you don't hit what you know you're supposed to hit.
Yeah.
Like Brandon said, it will kind of regulate itself. When I first got into fasting, I was more like intuitive eating, and some days I freak out. So I'm like, oh my god, like I only want like salad for dinner. Like I was like craving like the vegetables.
Yeah, right.
And then like the next day I'd eat like 2 porterhouses, and I'm like, okay, like let's just see what happens. Like I grew like a 9-month fasting baby. That was like my test run. Like I'm gonna give this 9 months when I first started fasting a couple years back. And I did the intuitive eating, and I felt like I had great results, and I was just listening to my body because not every day is the same in here in the gym and outside in the real world. You know what I mean?
You know how we do it too. Like if your activity level is higher, and even if you're keeping track of your macros, like you have a weekly target, and some days you may eat really light and you're just not hungry and you're under, and then some days you may eat an entire pizza because you just need to crush. So like I think.
Be mindful. I think it's good that you know your macro count, though. I don't think that's a disadvantage. I think that's really good for you because it keeps you from. Again, I think a big question when I just do fasting seminars is how do you know if you're overeating or not? And what I say, and for myself at least, if I'm eating the good food that I'm eating, it's healthy food, and I'm hungry, I'm gonna keep eating it. Now, if I'm eating junk food and I'm still hungry, that's when I know I'm binging or I'm overeating. So it's just being mindful. And what's I'm going to keep saying this is your self-awareness is going to increase tremendously, and you are going to provide for Craig. Hey, this is what I saw in my experience. I pulled back my protein a little bit or my carbs, and this is what I have found. And that's what it's about. It's contributing beyond because every single body is going to respond different.
Well, and I'm at that age now, Craig and I joke, but like with perimenopause and stuff, it's like I have gotten, I told Craig, each day is an adventure. Seriously, and
Yeah.
it's really started to pay attention to my body, and like I am dragging ass today, and like I just have to fuel my body to get through the day, to not make myself more sluggish, and to be able to fuel myself for a workout, like, whatever workout it needs to be that day and want it to be. So I think the energy level piece is going to be interesting to kind of see as I'm fueling my body during the fast to see how do I feel from an energy standpoint. Oh, that was really helpful. That didn't work. So
And give it a minute. Just
Yeah.
remember, just like any medicine, this is God's medicine. Saint, you're gonna have to give it a minute. If you try it and it doesn't work the first day, or you feel really low energy, a lot of it could be habitual. Just remember, habits are a big deal. We're pulling back. Food is a drug. We rely on food. That's part of our animal, part of our brain. We rely on this food. It's very comforting. So you will have to go through this detachment state. I recommend, if you choose to do this 35, do it all the way through. Do it from start to finish, because you are going to be dealing with those dragons, right? And if your perception is, I'm tired, you're going to be tight. If your perception is, I'm feeling not my greatest, but I'm looking forward for X, Y, and Z, man, everybody's going to be able to contribute from it.
You said also just 2 meals during the time that you can actually eat.
Yeah, so if you're doing a 16-hour fast, it's called a 16-8, if you've ever heard of that. 16 means 16 hours of fasting, and it's just allocating your windows. That's it, or your eating time. You're not restricting, really. It's not a diet. It's just saying, I'm going to eat at this time because I want my body to get rid of its sugar. And then I'm going to reintroduce food. So within that 8-hour window, you'd eat 2 meals. And depending on when you work out, one might be smaller than the other one, depending on how you want to do it. Some people fast overnight. Some people start in the morning. It just depends on, what your windows look like. You don't have to go, from 5 o'clock or from 7 o'clock on. Some people do not eat. Like Shay's dad had really good results doing a 5 o'clock. He stopped eating at 5 p.m. That was his thing. And he started back eating at like noon or 11 a.m., whatever that was. And he just said, no more meals after 5. Within that 11 to 5 window, I have 2 meals. One is small, one's like a really hearty, healthy protein shake with some fruits involved with it, and then the other one is my main meal. You can do 2 other meals if you want to, but you just don't want to pull out snacking. I think that's a big part of the fasting is hey, let's minimize as much snacking that's going on as possible.
That would be an 18-6 if I'm correct, right?
That'd be an 18-6. And a 20 hours and 4 off is you're eating 1 meal within those 4. Or myself, I eat multiple meals within that 4. And it just depends on your plate. You can only have a big enough size plate. So I'll have my meal, and if I'm still hungry, I'll go back in the kitchen and come back out and eat my second meal. So it's how I feel like, because I'm on the floor coaching, I'm on the go a lot, I have a lot of muscle on my body, so my body's burning. So I can afford to eat a lot of calories, but I went my highs and lows, meaning I'll just eat fruit if I need to, just because that's the only thing that's drawing me into. And I listen to my body as much as possible. Be very intuitive on this journey.
Any suggestions for a razor?
Yeah, you're gonna go on an adventure.
Yeah. This is why, guys, you don't have to do the fasting, but that I think is one of the most powerful pieces of it. If you are hungry, if you think you're hungry, if I think I need to eat it, it's the detachment that Brandon's talking about that you're going to get the value from, more so than like the fat loss because I ate 500 less calories because I skipped a meal. I want you guys to grasp that as like, think of it as an experiment, an adventure that turns into, or a journey that turns into an adventure. I like that because you're learning along the way. If you get done with a month of this, you're not gonna die. You know?
At all.
You learn.
You're gonna tell.
That was fucking horrible. I'll never do it again.
Yeah.
Go back to 3 small meals. Great. Like
Exactly.
Maybe you like having breakfast, or maybe it's gonna be like you thought you liked that because that's what you did for 30 years, and it's just what you've done. And I'm hungry at this time. Well, that's because of what you did, and that's because of maybe what you ate the night before. And as you're changing the quality of your food, you have better energy levels. You notice what he eats, he's not saving this 4 hours and then eating a bunch of McDonald's to get his calories in, right? It's his body, because he's eating intuitively, is craving high quality, which is what? Real food. So if you're eating real food, and I've said this in all of our lectures, it's very hard to overeat if you're eating real food. When we do even our 6-week challenge programs, that short list of real food, like, you're gonna be eating way more volume than most people are used to, because they're like, holy shit, how am I getting to eat all this food? Well, because it's a lot less calories when you're eating actual real quality food. It has the micronutrients in it, so your body's, your body, I think, would handle it differently. But really, I'm excited for you guys to find that mental disconnection and see that, oh, I wasn't really hungry. I just thought I was. But that's what I experienced. It was like my preconceived stories, like what Brandon said about being an athlete. I have to eat. If I don't eat, I'm gonna wither away to nothing. And it was like, oh, I didn't. Cool. I'm free now. It's like I took the chains off. I can eat when I want, or I don't have to eat. Right? So then if you have that control over food mentally, then you can eat changes.
You know what I'm hearing? Is obedience is better than sacrifice. And if this is, fasting is just like what we're calling it. But this here, and as I'm hearing it, is more of a transformation. It's more of, first of all, what do you want? Like, what are the things that you really want out of your life right now? And here is a tool to use in order to really get to the best of your now. I mean, to the best of yourself. Get the best out of life. Like controlling the waves. Like literally taking yourself from here to here. Just by being able to control the time that you eat, getting rid of, like, getting all of the poop and the toxins out, so that now you can think better. You can literally become a better person because you have changed just your eating habits. This is more to me of a spiritual journey than it is anything else.
Correct.
So I mean, thinking about what time you're eating or what you're eating, it's like, I know it's important, but it's really not the sauce.
Yeah, that's right. It's not the main thing. I'm the same boat.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing.
When you do the 48-hour fast at the very beginning,
Yes. If anybody wants to go on one, we're going to kick it off with that.
Yeah, so I usually tell all my clients to do a 48-hour fast, and hey, if they get to 36, it's great, right? 48-hour fast, the first 24 is the hardest, just because you're going to be fighting those dragons. But after that, the hunger goes away. Just make sure you keep your minerals super high. The minerals are going to it's going to allow your body to feel very satisfied, the micronutrients, without eating the fruit. And yeah, so the 48 is a huge challenge, and only 1% of the North American population has ever done a 48-hour fast, as opposed to the rest of the world who do that on that's part of their culture, part of their religion. The North Americans are the only ones that eat, 3-4 times big meals a day. There's this big preconceived notion, but it stems from the fact that the Industrial Revolution came apart and said breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And that was made by General Mills. It's a multi-billion-dollar slogan, and it's worked. Give the gut a break. If you're grazing, just know that the digestive enzymes do more than just digest, and that's how we know we're not supposed to graze. So, scientifically, we only have one stomach. We don't have multiple stomachs. So, give that gut a break. Get the neuron transmitters to flow. The faster they flow, the higher you perform. It's just how it works.
Just in my limited experience, it's what you said, that first day. I was never hungry the whole time. And I worked out the second day, and I was not crushed. And again, I've always been big on the post-workout window. Like what Brandon said, we know protein, you just gotta get your protein in, but, you know, I always felt like, I don't think those carbs, I'm gonna like crash and get shaky, and it didn't happen. So again, experiment with it, you're not gonna die. If you feel like shit, eat an orange, or, you know what I mean, like, it's not,
Yeah.
but like, I trust your body, and be willing to question what you know and explore it. And if anybody wants to kick off with that 48, that's what I'm gonna do. So that's how I'm gonna start it off with that, and it's just like it's a spiritual quest. That's what it is. It's a spiritual journey. So it's not about weight loss. I'm sure that'll come into effect as you improve your relationship with food. But yeah, it's more about that. What are you looking for? Asking those good questions to get really clear on what you truly want, and you know why you want it. That'll be the fun part.
Should have scheduled my colonoscopy with this.
That's right. You already have it there.
Damn it.
If anybody wants to
What?
pack,
2 for 1.
if anybody wants to pack, like I said, I'm basically giving it to you guys at cost. So we're not trying to make